Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing so well.
Good.
The camera is here, but I'm going to be looking this direction because I see you over here. So
Okay.
sorry if that's odd. I'm so happy to finally talk to you.
I know it. Oh my gosh, you're absolutely darling. I love your hair. Gives me life. So cute. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about Golden Wild Florals?
Sure. I'm Bethany Lynam. I am the head designer and owner of Golden Wild Florals. We are an event floral business in Lakeland, Florida. It's like central. It's between like Tampa and Orlando. I'm a former art teacher and philosophy teacher that just chose to play with flowers instead. And our team is made up of fine artists and queer folk. So we are such a like very unique little group in Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah, that is awesome. Tell me, like, how do you feel that being queer has set your style and the way that you design? How is that affected? I should say maybe better.
I think it's very freeing because if you kind of stick out in one way, people expect you to stick out in other ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sure does.
We tend to attract clientele that, you know, among like very open personalities and very loving personalities, they're also a little bit more adventurous creatively as well. So that's been really fun. I also, it's opened different opportunities, you know, different types of style shoots where the couple is a not conventional couple, so they want non-conventional florals. So it's influenced it that way. So we kind of feel like we can stick out and automatically stick out, and we've just learned how to embrace it.
Yeah. Do you find that each one of your team members has a different approach or a different style of design?
More than a style of design, it's more a different sorry, this incense is like a lot. A different part to play kind of when we're designing, if that makes sense. So we all have our different roles that come with our different personality traits. For instance, my partner, he helps a lot with the mechanics because he's very like mathematical and engineering based. And so
completely opposite of the creative artistic type.
You would think, but he actually is he does it all, which is convenient for
that's
me.
awesome.
But he balances out my intuition with more of the rationale. And so he helps with that. We also have Jessie, who's also a designer with us. She makes sure that we're on time, that we're finishing everything in an appropriate amount of time when we're doing setups. And she knows when I'm just like tweaking and tweaking and tweaking to just say, walk away, you know? So it's more about, you know, the personality traits that help us accomplish different parts of the design process.
Well, I have to admit, when I discovered you and your Instagram and your website, you know, I'm looking through it obviously, and I noticed that with or just the way that you are perceiving yourself, you're very team oriented. It's not like Bethany, and here's Bethany's company. Your Instagram shows your team and how they, you know, like play a part. Your website, you know, you list everyone out there, and it's very intentional that, you know, what they like and how they feel. So that's kind of what attracted me to you, is that, you know, it's more of like everybody is included. And I think that kind of says too a lot about even what you say on your website is like your business, you want to be all inclusive, you want diversity, and that shows the way that you design.
Yes. It is a very intentional choice because when I first started, there wasn't a team, but
Yeah, oh my gosh, right?
I still, I still kind of had that attitude because I always wanted there to be.
Yeah.
And I knew that the best things come from multiple minds and multiple eyes, multiple sets of creative intuition. And I knew I never wanted it to be like Bethany's Florals or
Right.
Bethany's Blooms, or I never wanted it to
Mhm.
be me. I always wanted it to be larger than me, just because I think that brings better service and better quality of work to
Mhm.
people. Um, and I also happened to start my business in 2020 as everything was like falling apart. I was
Oh my
just
gosh.
starting. So I didn't really have anything to lose yet. I just gained the benefit of looking at all these other businesses and how they were conducting themselves and learning how important it is to engage with community. And I think that just philosophically gave me a different tone to how I was going to build my business, and
Yeah.
how even when we try to do a lot of events that are just kind of benefits or fundraising, things like that. We just worked at National Pulse Museum or Memorial, excuse me. Um, and it's still about like building a community of people.
Yeah.
So it started with me wanting a team, but now it's like we want our team to engage with the community, and we want our community to kind of spread beauty that way.
Yeah, right. And support you.
Yeah. So
So you mentioned you started your business in 2020, the start of the pandemic. How did you get started? I mean, like, how did this come about?
right. Well, I was actually a school teacher. I was teaching visual art to a bunch of high schoolers. And I was also doing marketing and photography. If you do one thing creative, people tend to think you do everything creative. And so I was wearing all of these creative hats at the
Mhm.
school where I was teaching, and I was very burnt out. So I
Mm.
decided, before I become that grumpy teacher, I'm just going to rest, and whatever that means. And then I was camping one time with my family, and I jokingly made a bouquet of like dead brown Florida foliage. And then I sent a picture to a friend, and she said, "Have you ever thought, that doesn't look that bad? And have you thought about doing flowers?" And I hadn't even really thought of it as a job. I just pictured twirling skirts and birds and like a fairy princess or so. I didn't know what florals actually meant.
Yeah.
Um, so I just got a job at a nearest shop. And I was a late bloomer. I wasn't that great at it, honestly, until because I was still very two-dimensional as a fine artist. And then I started apprenticing with an event florist in Jacksonville. And that's when all of a sudden I fell in love with event florals. I love doing big. I love to do textural. I love working with a team. I love the timeline and adrenaline rush. I love not knowing what you're going to find when you get there. And it really just opened up an entire world. And I knew I wanted to do it right away. And the florist I was working with, she's actually in California now. She goes by the Wild Thistle in Redding, California. And she was planning to move to California. So she said, "I will show you everything I know, and you make it your own, do your own thing." And she kind of took me under her wing. And I think less than a year later, I was like, "I'm going to start my own business. I'm really good at this. I love it. Here we go." And that was it. And the
Yeah.
pandemic gave me the time,
I was gonna
everything.
say it's kind of like a blessing, right?
Yeah. And it feels very odd to speak about how much that
Mm.
time did bring fruitfulness to my life, because it was
Yeah.
so hard in a lot of ways. But
Mhm.
if things hadn't stopped, I don't think I would have had the time to really think through what type of business I wanted to do and create a website, like all these tedious things. I was
Yeah.
full time as a florist in a shop. I don't think I would have had the courage and time to do all of those things.
How would you describe your style?
I am probably very versatile. I know artistically, especially being in the fine art world, it's very valuable to have like a signature. But I think it's with my personality, I really just want to know I've given the client exactly what they want, like over and beyond, like better than what they thought they were going to get.
Mhm.
So I've kind of learned how to intuit what they're looking for and give them that times 10. So I don't I don't have like a boho style or a garden style. Probably the most consistent thing is I like loose. I like things looking like they're exploding and look like you can find them in nature, which is very
Yeah.
popular. But I am proud of the fact that I kind of do tend to hone it to the client. And if they want me to tone it down a little bit, then I tone it down a little bit. Um, we're very people centric, kind of more than
Yeah.
um, it's and it's been tricky. Like it's very tempting to just want to make something that you want to see in your portfolio. But I really tried hard to hone that in or rein that in and just kind of give the client what their dream is. And
Yeah.
it's been work to get there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely see your style. I mean, I love it. It's, super like organic, just like you said, it's like free flowing. It's like, um, I think bloom heavy a lot. I mean, you have
Yeah.
nice big juicy blooms.
Mhm.
And I love that about your designing.
Thank
It's
you.
it's really pretty. And I do love that. You are very like people conscious. Like I was reading your website and you said like, yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you create a beautiful event for your couples or your clients, but always kind of remaining like true to yourself.
Yes, yes. And true to what's important to them.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it's why clients trust me because they
Yeah.
don't think I will just take off and do, whatever. If even if
Mhm.
that means trimming a vision, things that I think are important for the sake of what they think is important. It makes
Yeah.
them trust that I'll honor their budget or I'll honor the ambiance or what's symbolic to them. It is very people centric, almost to a fault. I find myself looking at gallery photos that photographers will give me, and I just think it's a sweet photo, and then somebody will have to say there's like no flowers in that photo. You can't, like, you're a florist and you keep posting these photos of just like your sweet people that you love.
Yeah.
um Befriended this couple, but you need to keep it like flower centric. I do What makes the work really enjoyable is the connection with people. I think
Yeah.
I really love that.
Well, I think too, when like artists or designers have that, we're creative people. So we see art in a lot of things that normal people don't, whereas we can post a picture of a bride and groom has no flowers and we think, that is amazing and that's very artful. And,
Mhm.
where somebody else would say, how come she doesn't have any flowers in that, but we see the beauty, we see the art in it, I guess.
Mhm.
Bethany, what do you think is or was your biggest hurdle to date since you started your business?
It's changed. I think initially it was work-life balance. Anybody starting
Mhm.
something, especially an event work, it's just so time consuming. There's a lot of different steps caring for flowers. So it was really just kind of making sure I was having my own space and own time to refresh, and I wasn't just letting this new business consume me.
Yeah.
Recently, it's been a little bit trickier. Politically in Florida, things have changed a lot. So when I first started my business, I always wanted to be known as a queer business, a queer-owned business.
Mhm.
Um, and I've been inspired by a lot of local businesses as well who have done the same. And more, it's becoming a topic of conversation. We'll just say that. And there's like an internal anxiety that was there that wasn't there before, where I'm thinking, okay, when we go to this venue, am I putting my team in a position where they, you know, might receive a comment? Just so the temperament of the state in the past year and a half has really emboldened people to be a little bit more vocal, and sometimes less kind. My clients have always been really fantastic, but when you're working with other vendors you may not know, or you're walking to a venue you don't know, they didn't hire you. That is kind of
Yeah.
a concern that it hasn't become a huge hurdle yet, but only because I'm preparing and hyper vigilant about it not becoming a hurdle
Yeah.
for my people, for my team, and even some of my clients. It's kind of in vogue right now. A lot of venues are like putting their foot down against the queer community. And I've had to say no to clients about working in certain venues actually for the
Wow.
first time, which was kind of odd.
That's
Too.
unbelievable to me. Like that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's like a new hurdle that wasn't there when I first started. And maybe it was my naivete a little bit, but everyone was just trying to like survive the year. But I imagine that's going to become a little bit more of a hurdle in the next
Wow.
8 months or so.
So, I mean, obviously you don't have a crystal ball, but I mean,
Mhm.
how do you, gosh, continue your business if you can't work at certain venues? That is so sad to me. Like,
It's crazy. It's so odd. And this specific venue, I grew up right next to it too, so I know it very well.
yeah.
Um, you lean into the community you do have. There's a lot of power in unity and love. And as you know, cliche as it sounds, it just makes you feel invincible. Recently,
Mhm.
we do a benefit for the Pulse One Pulse Foundation in Orlando. Um, and we threw an event of all these queer vendors or queer allies, and we had a huge group of people come and make floral hearts for the Pulse Memorial in Orlando to remember like the 49 lives that were lost. And
Mm,
after that event, it was like
yeah.
you can do anything
Yeah.
to rob our joy in that. So I think it's just really important to come together and lean into that community that is
Mhm.
supportive, so it doesn't psychologically get to you. I also I make really beautiful work, and I'm going to continue making beautiful work. And there's nothing they can say against it. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
if that's been kind of a tradition or an older trend with the LGBTQIA community, which is people really love what we make in fashion or in music, but don't really want to accept us. But I'm kind of blending them where, you know, even if they struggle with something ideologically, they can't argue with the quality of our service and our care
Yeah.
for them and the beauty of our work.
Mm, well said. It makes me sad, really, that, there's discrimination and, people are just not accepting. I don't,
Yeah,
I'm at a loss for words that you experienced that, and I'm sorry. Mm,
thank you.
the whole point of this series is to showcase people that are unique and different and um, stand up for what they believe in. And, uh, to hear some of the stories is really just so saddening. Um, what what
Yeah.
advice can you give boys and girls for the future?
Huh. Well, this used to be my profession, so I'll try not to talk for a long time. I used to be
That's
so I'd have
okay.
high schoolers and I would just like tell them all the things. Um, what I wish I had heard was you don't have to take what's offered to you. So I was given a very clear road of leadership in my school and from my home. If you want to be a leader in the community, this is these are the directions you go to become a leader, and this is what it looks like. Owning a flower business or like an event business was not on the list. And
Look at you now.
Well, it's just funny because I thought you had to be an academic and write like a profound book, or I thought I had to be an official or a preacher. You had to be somebody that was a very official capacity. And I've learned that leadership and creating the culture and environment you want to see just is a perspective. They're small choices. And so now I get to lead by how I serve people and care for people and make them, feel seen in my work, or how I choose to lift up certain communities, or, just the integrity in all my business choices that might be more subtle, but sometimes are more lasting, just being a business owner and, without a megaphone. Just being consistent and having integrity offers more of a sustainable leadership role in our communities than maybe is offered when we're younger. What we're told, do your thing, just do it really well and consistently. You don't have to just take these different options.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any exciting projects coming up that you want to share?
Some of them I don't know if I'm supposed to share yet, but I did just move into a new studio that I'm very excited about because it is with fine artists. So this was like kind of another philosophical move I made. Instead of kind of moving to purchasing a venue or a flower shop, I chose to move into this art gallery with 22 other fine artists and be surrounded by the way they work. And so that's been kind of the exciting move recently, just being inspired by them and seeing how they interact with creativity. It's just been balm. It's been so nice, a counterbalance to all the business, entrepreneurship.
Well, you'll never run out of fresh ideas, that's for sure. With neighbors like that.
Community is the way.
Yeah, it sure is. I feel the love. Oh my gosh. What do you want people to know about you?
Oh gosh. I'm a Capricorn, double Capricorn. So I tend to be like, mind your own business. I hope people know that whether personally or through my business, I usually use the slogan like love brings the beauty. I really mean that. And everyone that I choose to work with us, we really mean that. And so that means you don't have the floral budget, the Pinterest photo shows, or, love is going to bring the beauty to your wedding. When we show up and we're sweating and we're working really hard and straining, it's not just the flowers, like our love is bringing the beauty in that moment. That is not just like a cute slogan that sounds really appealing. It's really true. I think about my clients and what would matter to them in a very real way. So I just hope people know that is sincere. Like my team members, we mean it sincerely. I mean it sincerely. That what flowers are just like a physical way we honor the beautiful things that are happening and honor people. And we really mean that.
I love that. Oh my gosh, Bethany, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you.
I absolutely love your work and you are an incredible person. Keep doing what you're doing. And today I'm going to celebrate you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Val.